Stop whatever else you are doing. Do not listen to this while distracted. Put down the paper. Walk away from the noise. This is not background sound for your bus ride or a pleasant idea to consider later. This is war against the one enemy that has robbed you of your destiny, doubt. You may not believe this yet, but doubt is not harmless. Doubt is not humble. Doubt is treason against your spirit. Every time you hesitate, you betray your own potential. Every time you question whether you're ready, whether you're worthy, whether it's possible, you feed the very ghost that wants you weak, wandering and wasting years. Let me speak to you plainly. You do not need more chances. You need more certainty. Life has already handed you thousands of moments you did not take because doubt whispered, "Not yet." And each time you listened, a piece of your confidence died quietly in the dark. This moment right now can be different, but only if you stop treating these words like entertainment and start receiving them like instructions. Not listening is the root of your results. That is the truth. The poverty, the loneliness, the repeated failures, they are not punishments from life. They are simply the cost of ignoring right instruction. Now, I know that is hard to hear, but let it sting. Let it break your silence. Because if you had truly listened, deeply, obediently, repeatedly, to the laws of success that I and many others have shouted for decades, you would not be where you are, and you know it. But here is the good news. What you have not yet become, you can still become. What you have not yet done, you can still do. If you listen fully, forcefully, with the decision of a man who has finished living beneath his design. You see, most people never truly listen. They nod, they agree, they quote, but they do not change. And they do not change because they never submitted to the message with enough faith to let it burn away their excuses. You say you want to grow? Then stop filtering everything through the voice of your doubt. Let this teaching enter unchallenged. Let it reach your subconscious. Let it become law. Because once your mind accepts these truths as final, you will never again doubt your ability to act, to build, to rise. This message will challenge you. It will confront the part of you that keeps saying, maybe later. It will call for a version of you you've buried beneath 10 years of excuses. And if you let it, you will feel something shift in your spine, in your voice, in your daily steps. You were not born to tiptoe. You were born to decide. You were born to become a man who radiates so much belief that others bow before your certainty. But that belief must be built, and it begins by listening with the force of a man who refuses to remain ordinary. Now listen, and do not drift, for what comes next will burn the doubt out of your bones, and in its place a new law shall reign. I decide, I believe, I persist, and I become the proof that anything is possible. Doubt is not wisdom. It is not discernment. It is not protection. Doubt is poison. Doubt is the slow decay of every great man's potential. Doubt is the voice of the defeated masquerading as caution. It sounds intelligent, but it is treachery. It wears a scholar's robe, but wields a coward's blade. It delays, it hesitates, it whispers, and in the end, it destroys. Every defeat begins in the mind. Long before a man loses his fortune, he loses his belief. Long before a man is abandoned, he abandons himself. Defeat begins not with failure, but with internal hesitation. You thought about acting, you thought about speaking, but you waited. And in that space, doubt struck. No man has ever risen to greatness by listening to the voice of uncertainty. The men whose names thunder through history were not the cautious. They were the convicted. The man who waits until he is certain has already lost. The man who moves while others deliberate commands the prize. Let me tell you of Edwin C. Barnes. He did not ask if he was ready. He did not question his qualifications. He did not seek approval. He decided, I will work with Edison, not for him, with him. That was not arrogance, that was faith. Barnes did not wait for an invitation. He burned his doubt, rode a freight train, and stood before destiny with a fire that Edison could not ignore. Barnes succeeded because he removed all doubt before the opportunity even appeared. He acted with belief so powerful that the world had no choice but to respond. If he had waited just 1 month, 1 day, 1 second longer, he would have become like the masses, dreaming but doubting, and the dream would have died. Doubt nothing except limitation itself. Do not doubt your power. Do not doubt your purpose. Doubt is an enemy in disguise. It wears the mask of humility, but it is spiritual theft. It will rob you of time, energy, and allies, and when you are weak, it will speak in your own voice. Doubt weakens repetition. You may repeat your aim aloud each morning, but if you doubt while doing so, your words are noise. Doubt kills imagination. You may visualize wealth, but if doubt lingers, your images fade. Doubt starves faith. You may pray, but if doubt enters your mind, your prayer becomes empty sound. Say this now and say it with power. I burn every seed of doubt. My faith is stronger than circumstance. And again, I burn every seed of doubt. My faith is stronger than circumstance. These words are not decorations, they are declarations. Say them with the fire of a man who is finished with hesitation. You cannot hold two masters in your mind. You cannot serve both fear and faith. You cannot plant victory and defeat in the same soil. One will grow, the other will wither. The subconscious does not obey the half-hearted. It does not respond to contradiction. It obeys only the dominant impulse, and the dominant impulse must be belief. This is the first law. The subconscious will not obey a man whose spirit is divided. You must not merely speak belief. You must become belief. There can be no trace of apology in your tone, no sliver of doubt in your voice, no contradiction in your inner world. Doubt is not to be managed, it is to be destroyed. You do not negotiate with it. You do not debate it. You do not give it voice. You crush it with repetition, you silence it with action, and you starve it with clarity. The reason most men never succeed is not because of their background, their talent, or their luck. It is because they entertain doubt while pretending to believe. Their words say yes, but their spirit says maybe. And maybe is the most dangerous word a man can speak. If you want to rise, if you want to build something immortal, if you want to command results, you must become a man who doubts nothing except weakness itself. You must walk into each room as if destiny is already written. You must speak your chief aim not as a goal, but as law. I ask you now, what doubt are you still permitting? What idea, what action, what decision have you delayed because you are waiting for certainty? You will never be more ready than this moment. There is no better day than now. Destroy the excuse, make the move. You say, what if I fail? I say, what if you delay and never discover your power? You say, what if I'm not good enough? I say, what if that belief is the very thing keeping greatness away? You say, what if they reject me? I say, what if you are already rejecting yourself by asking their permission? You must command your inner world. Command your belief. Speak like a man whose future is certain. Walk like one who has already won. Look yourself in the mirror each morning and say, doubt is no longer permitted in this house. Only belief may speak here. Let others caution, let others delay, let others wonder, but not you. You were made for action. You were made for decision. You were made to stand alone in belief if needed, and in that stance you will find the allies who were waiting for a man with the courage to move first. Today is not just another day. Today is your declaration of war against the habit of hesitation. You will no longer seek permission to believe. You will no longer check with fear before you speak. You will no longer carry the weight of doubt in your chest. Say this aloud. I burn every seed of doubt. My faith is stronger than circumstance. Again, louder, sharper, until you believe it more than you believe your current situation. Until your voice begins to move mountains, not in the world, but in your mind. And remember, the subconscious will not obey a man whose spirit is divided. Unite your voice, your vision, your actions, and your identity, and your belief will become unstoppable. Desire is the starting point of all achievement, not hope, not wishing, not vague interest, desire. A white-hot, all-consuming, all-commanding, burning desire. Nothing else will banish fear. Nothing else will overpower doubt. If fear still haunts you, it is only because desire has not yet been set on fire. Every man who has ever conquered fate began with a single truth in his soul. I must have this, there is no other alternative. Until you say that with your full spirit, you will live in hesitation. You will shrink in moments of opportunity. You will retreat when life tests your claim. Do not confuse desire with emotion. Emotions rise and fall. Desire stays. Desire is the furnace beneath your decisions. It is the engine behind your repetition. It is the unshakable force that bends the world to your will, and where it burns, fear cannot stand. It is consumed. Let me remind you of Henry Ford. The world mocked him. His engineers told him his idea was impossible. They brought him diagrams, theories, excuses. But Ford was not interested in mechanics. He was driven by desire. He said, "Produce the V8 engine," and he would not retract his order. He desired it until the world yielded. When Ford demanded, "Build it anyway," he was not speaking from logic. He was speaking from desire. He had already burned the bridge to retreat. He had already chosen belief over doubt. And that desire, unyielding, unreasonable, undeniable, created what experts said could not be done. You must write your desire, make it visible, give it edges. Do not say, "I want success." That is vague, that is hollow. That is for the drifter. You must say, "I demand success in this specific aim, by this specific time, with this specific reward." Only then does desire become magnetic. Do not carry your desire in your mind alone. Write it, frame it, post it, speak it. Read it aloud, morning and night. These acts are not superstition. They are spiritual programming. Every time you repeat your desire with faith, you carve it deeper into the walls of your mind. You make it law. Exercise. Write down your definite chief aim tonight. Make it precise. Make it urgent. Make it impossible to forget. Then stand before a mirror and read it aloud every morning and every night until your own voice begins to shake with certainty. Let it be known, your aim is not a preference. It is a command, and you do not ask permission to speak it. You declare it boldly, clearly, and relentlessly. A man who whispers his desires invites resistance, but a man who speaks with fire commands favor. You ask, "But what if I don't feel that burning desire yet?" Then your first job is to build it. You must feed it daily, through imagination, through repetition, through silence, through isolation from the cynical and the weak. No one is born with burning desire. It is grown through decision. Say aloud now, "My desire is fixed, burning, and unbreakable. I live for its fulfillment." Again, "My desire is fixed, burning, and unbreakable. I live for its fulfillment." These are not motivational words. These are spiritual orders to your subconscious, to your body, to your environment. Desire must be so intense that no amount of rejection can remove it. No delay can weaken it. No mockery can silence it. You must want what you want so absolutely that men either follow you or fear you, but they never ignore you. Every obstacle you will ever face will test the strength of your desire, not your talent, not your background, but your burning resolve. When a man with burning desire is told no, he becomes more certain. When the weak are told no, they agree. The world bends to the man who believes he cannot be denied. This belief is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is the harmony of mind, voice, and action. And it cannot be faked. You either believe and move with power, or you doubt and die slowly in the land of excuses. Let me say this clearly. Desire will burn the fear out of you. If you still tremble before opportunity, your desire is not yet hot enough. If you still hide from decisions, your desire is lukewarm. You must feed it, stir it, fan it, speak it until you become it. The law of life is simple. You will never have what you cannot first desire with conviction. The riches, the power, the relationships, the purpose, they do not come to the man who wishes. They come to the man who must. Repeat this now. I must succeed. I must fulfill my purpose. I must realize this aim. There is no other path. There is no other life. There is no other version of me that is acceptable. That is how desire is built. That is how fear is burned. That is how the impossible becomes inevitable. Doubt flees in the presence of spiritual fire. It cannot argue with burning purpose. It cannot dwell in a mind consumed by one great obsession. If doubt still lives in you, it is not because you are weak. It is because you have not yet fed your desire long enough, loud enough, or daily enough. Say it again. My desire is fixed, burning, and unbreakable. I live for its fulfillment. This is not poetry. This is programming. This is how men like Edison, Ford, Lincoln, and Carnegie spoke to themselves before they became legends. And this is how you must now speak. Write it, read it, speak it, picture it every single day until your desire has burned the bridges to retreat and your only path is forward, no matter how long it takes. Your desire is the fire. Let it burn until there is no fear left. Faith is not a gift for the lucky. It is not a breeze that arrives in pleasant weather. Faith is a state of mind, and it must be enforced. It is built brick by brick, repetition by repetition. The man who waits to feel faith before he moves will never move. He will study, he will prepare, he will talk, but he will never act. Faith is the foundation upon which all riches, power, and purpose are built. Without it, your desire has no legs. Without it, your aim becomes a fantasy. Without it, your words are air. A man without faith is like a commander without an army. He may scream orders, but nothing will march. Faith comes from discipline. Faith is born of autosuggestion, forged in environment, and strengthened by spoken word. You do not stumble into faith. You speak it until your own ears begin to believe. You enforce it until the subconscious accepts no contradiction. Let me speak to you about Abraham Lincoln. He walked through storms that would break most men. His own cabinet doubted him. The nation was on fire. But Lincoln's faith did not waver, not because the facts were in his favor, but because his inner world was already decided. Lincoln's faith in preserving the Union was so fixed, so rooted in decision, that even when the night was darkest, he stood upright. That kind of resolve is not born in comfort. It is shaped through quiet repetition, through private declarations, through solitude. You must become a man who speaks faith aloud, not only when he feels strong, but especially when he feels shaken. The moment doubt whispers, raise your voice. The moment fear arrives, reply aloud with faith. Your subconscious listens, not to what you hope, but to what you repeat. Let this be your command. I believe. I speak faith. I act in line with certainty. Speak it now. Let it leave your mouth with fire. Again, I believe. I speak faith. I act in line with certainty. These words must become as familiar to you as your own name. Most men want faith without repetition. They want confidence without discipline. They wait to feel belief before they act. But I tell you now, you must act in faith until the results appear. Not because you are sure of the outcome, but because you have chosen to be sure of yourself. Exercise. Create your self-confidence formula today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Write it by hand. Begin each line with I know that, or I believe that, and include your chief aim, your reasons, your affirmations, and your belief in your power. Read it aloud every morning and every evening. Make your voice an instrument of law. Do not recite, declare, do not mumble, command. When you speak your formula, speak like a king announcing a royal decree. The subconscious does not respond to weak tones. It obeys the dominant voice. Let me tell you again, doubt cannot live in a mind filled with faith-induced repetition. If you do not yet feel faith, speak more. If you still hesitate, repeat again. Faith is like fire. It grows by feeding it. And what you feed it is sound, vision, decision, and action. You must become the prophet of your own destiny. No one will do this for you. No one will whisper belief into your bones. You must stand and declare who you are becoming, not once, not twice, but daily, until your words no longer feel like dreams, they feel like identity. You say, but I have failed before. I say, then begin again with faith. You say, but I don't know if it will work. I say, that question belongs to the weak. The man of faith says, it will work because I have spoken it so, and I will act until it does. This is not fantasy. This is not optimism. This is mental discipline. The wealthiest men in the world live by faith, not because they're lucky, but because they've trained themselves to reject doubt. And you must now train yourself the same. Say it again. I believe. I speak faith. I act in line with certainty. Let it burn through every nerve in your body. Let it reach your bones. Let it become the rhythm of your mornings, the cadence of your stride, the tone of your voice, and the bedrock of your thought. There is no success without faith. There is no progress without belief. There is no power without certainty. And all three can be trained by one tool, repetition with emotion. The world does not wait for the man who prepares forever. The world moves for the man who walks with spiritual certainty. And that certainty is not a talent. It is a habit, a spiritual law, a daily ritual of mental command. And now you know it, and now you must use it. The subconscious mind is the silent builder of all destiny. It does not sleep. It does not question. It does not reason. It only receives and reproduces what it is told, repeatedly, emotionally, and with conviction. The man who understands this law becomes the architect of his future. The one who ignores it becomes a servant to circumstances. The subconscious does not respond to mere thought. It responds to dominant thought. And dominant thought is not what you think occasionally. It is what you repeat daily, what you speak aloud, what you feel with intensity, and what you surround yourself with constantly. It hears everything, and it obeys the strongest voice. Most men poison their future not with malice, but with carelessness. They complain casually. They speak sarcasm. They indulge in gossip. They entertain doubt. And every time they do, they reprogram the subconscious to obey weakness, to normalize failure, to welcome poverty and fear. Understand this. The subconscious is always listening. It cannot discern whether what you say is serious or in jest. It cannot separate what you want from what you fear. It only records and reproduces. If your words speak defeat, even with a smile, your life will reflect that record. Let me give you an example. John D. Rockefeller, one of the world's most powerful industrialists, trained himself to remain emotionally neutral in all situations. Even when entire markets collapsed, he spoke only calm, forward-moving words. He did not allow his subconscious to absorb fear, even during chaos. He understood what you must now accept. The subconscious mind obeys the calm commander, not the emotional slave. You must become that commander. You must speak strength, even when your circumstances scream otherwise. You must train your inner world before the outer world begins to shift. Now let me give you your next command. Exercise, 3-day speech audit. For the next 72 hours, you will record and become ruthlessly aware of every word you speak aloud, every sentence, every phrase, especially those muttered under stress, spoken without thinking, or tossed around in jest. At the end of each day, ask, did this sentence feed faith or fuel fear? Then remove all low-energy speech, every complaint, every doubt, every excuse. Eliminate sarcasm, gossip, and vague uncertainty. Replace each with affirmations of clarity, strength, and direction. Speak only what you want your life to obey. Say this now. I feed my subconscious only clarity, courage, and purpose. Again, stronger. Again, with conviction. This must become the spiritual standard of your speech, You do not get to speak like the world and then live like the greats. That contradiction breeds failure. If you desire greatness, you must live by greatness. And that begins not in action, but in speech. Speech programs thought. Thought programs emotion. Emotion programs action. And action builds the world you see. Everything begins with what you say. Many men curse themselves daily and call it honesty. They say, I'm not good enough, or I don't know if I can, or things never work out for me. And they think this is harmless. But it is not harmless. It is law. It is instruction. And the subconscious obeys without hesitation. Your doubt is not coming from the world. It is not being imposed from the outside. It is simply the echo of yesterday's careless thoughts, careless words, careless repetition. And if you want to change your life, you must change your internal echo. You must change your voice. You must speak strength before you feel strong. Speak belief before results appear. Speak order while your environment is still chaotic. This is the discipline of builders, the discipline of giants, the discipline of men who command reality instead of react to it. Let this affirmation now enter your spiritual bloodstream. I feed my subconscious only clarity, courage, and purpose. Repeat it every morning, every night, before decisions, after failures, when you are tempted to complain, when you are praised, when you are alone, when you are doubted. Speak it until the subconscious accepts it as final. Every result you experience today was born from a belief that you rehearsed yesterday. The subconscious cannot refuse your orders, but it does not choose your orders for you. You choose them with every word you speak, with every idea you allow, with every conversation you tolerate. If your life is still moving slowly, do not blame your surroundings. Blame your instructions. Rewrite them. And do so with such spiritual force that the subconscious cannot ignore it. It will obey, but only when you speak as one who commands. This is not exaggeration. This is not self-help. This is spiritual engineering. I have taught this to men who rose from poverty to riches, from obscurity to influence, from fear to unbreakable strength. They did not change their life first. They changed their inner language. So now the question is not whether the subconscious will respond. The question is whether you will begin to speak with such clarity and strength that it must. Will you? Will you go 72 hours without poisoning your own potential with casual speech? Will you speak victory while still surrounded by challenge? Will you command your mind like a general before battle? Will you feed your subconscious only what you want it to grow? Because if you do, it will obey. And your life will begin to match your words. Let it begin now. Decision is the blade that cuts through hesitation. It is the fire that consumes confusion. It is the unseen force that separates the weak from the strong, the ordinary from the exceptional. No man may rise who has not first decided to do so. And no man remains defeated unless he has decided, whether consciously or not, to remain uncertain. Indecision is the nursery of doubt. It is the dark room where dreams rot. The man who cannot decide will delay. The man who delays will drift. The man who drifts will die full of unused power. If you have ever failed to move forward, it was not the lack of opportunity, it was the lack of decision. The great truth is this: life moves for the man who decides, and it punishes the one who waits. Waiting breeds doubt. Waiting weakens faith. Waiting attracts fear. But decision, swift, firm, absolute, ignites the very forces that shape reality. You ask why some men seem to attract fortune, while others remain stuck. The answer is decision. The world respects the man who knows where he is going. Even if he begins with nothing, decision grants him momentum. The man who moves in faith receives allies, ideas, and invisible aid. Let me give you the example of Andrew Carnegie. He was not a man of constant questioning. He did not surround himself with scholars who debated endlessly. He built empires because he acted decisively. And he selected men like Charles Schwab not for talent, but for their ability to decide quickly and accurately. Carnegie understood that decisions create momentum, and momentum builds empires. He once said he could train a man in skill, but he could never make a coward decisive. And so he chose only those whose minds were made of iron, those who moved when others hesitated. Hear this. All faith is activated by decision. If you wait until you're certain, you will never move. If you need a guarantee, you will never experience greatness. The decision must come before the answer, before the evidence, before the applause. You must decide when it feels unreasonable, and hold that line. Doubt will scream, fear will whisper, but the man who has decided walks forward anyway, and as he moves, the fog lifts. Doors open, allies appear. The path reveals itself, not before decision, but after. I now give you a direct command. Write down 3 decisions you've delayed. They could be related to business, relationships, health, finances, or purpose. Do not wait another hour. Make them before nightfall. Do not seek consensus. Do not request permission. Decide and speak this aloud as you do. I decide swiftly. I move boldly. I am the captain of my soul. Let those words ring through your body. Again, I decide swiftly. I move boldly. I am the captain of my soul. You are not a leaf in the wind. You are the hand that moves the wheel. Every time you delay, doubt grows teeth. It sharpens itself on your hesitation. It begins to speak with authority. But when you decide and act, faith sharpens its blade, and it slices through every excuse, every delay, every fear that once held you hostage. You must not be one who makes soft decisions. A soft decision is one that waits for convenience, one that makes promises but does not plan, one that hopes but never acts. These are not decisions. They are fantasies, and they are the tools of cowards. A real decision is visible in action. It shows up in changed behavior. It causes people to notice. It shakes your schedule. It rearranges your priorities. If your decision doesn't disrupt your life, it was never a decision. It was a daydream. Let me be clear. The man who masters decision becomes unshakable. While others wobble in their plans, he builds. While others ask, what if it goes wrong? He asks, what must I do next? His mind is not busy with opinions. It is focused on outcomes. You were not made to hesitate. You were not made to wait. You were made to declare, to act, to walk forward, even if your legs tremble. Because the moment you act, you kill doubt. And what rises in its place is power. Say this again. I decide swiftly. I move boldly. I am the captain of my soul. Say it until the timidity breaks. Say it until your voice sounds like a builder and not a beggar. Say it until your feet move, your habits change, and your circle responds with awe. One more lesson. Never reverse a decision unless it violates principle. You may alter the plan, but the decision must remain firm. If you change your aim with every mood, you become spiritually bankrupt. You must be fixed, like a compass, like the stars, like the law. If you have made the decision to grow rich, do not change it. If you have made the decision to speak with confidence, do not change it. If you have made the decision to build, build until it is done, no matter the delay, no matter the resistance. Decision is the vow that your future will not be denied. Say it again. I decide swiftly. I move boldly. I am the captain of my soul. And act, not tomorrow. Now, many begin, few finish, many promise, few persist, many believe for a moment, but only the man who persists with unwavering resolve transforms belief into fact. It is persistence, not brilliance, not luck, not charm, that builds empires, forges character, and brings the invisible into reality. Let me repeat this truth with thunder. Doubt may outlast one effort, but it cannot survive 1,000. It cannot survive a man who returns day after day after day, unmoved by delay, untouched by defeat, unwavering in spirit. The man who persists cannot be defeated, only delayed. You admire Thomas Edison, but do you truly understand why he succeeded? It was not intelligence. It was not support. It was persistence. He failed over 10,000 times attempting to invent the electric light. But he did not consider these failures. He considered each attempt a necessary step toward success. When asked how he endured so many defeats, Edison replied, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This is not poetry. It is power. It is the language of men who are immune to the poison of quitting. He persisted because he believed, and he believed because he decided. This is your formula. Learn it, engrave it, live it. Persistence. Formula, definite chief aim. You must know exactly what you want. Faith. You must believe you will have it. Repetition. You must speak it aloud morning and night. Daily action. You must take at least one step forward every day, regardless of emotion. If you miss one piece, you lose momentum. If you delay, you invite doubt. If you rest too long, you awaken fear. But if you persist, even with trembling hands, you become unstoppable. Now do this exercise. 30-day persistence log. Write down your definite chief aim. Post it on your wall. Beneath it, create a daily log. Each day, record one deliberate action taken toward that aim. Just one. Do not skip a day. Do not excuse delay. No matter how small, the action must be taken. 30 days. No exceptions. Why? Because the subconscious responds not to the size of the act, but the consistency of it. A steady man moves mountains. The wind may howl, the storm may rage, but the one who plants his flag and refuses to retreat eventually breaks through. Now say this aloud and say it like law. I persist without apology. My results obey my repetition. Again, stronger, clearer. Until your voice becomes the sound of a bulldozer, until every excuse flees, until your subconscious rises in agreement. This is how you rewire destiny. This is how you silence doubt, not with one great leap, but with 1,000 small, unshakable, unstoppable steps. This is the method of builders. This is the creed of champions. Do not say, "I'll try." Do not say, "We'll see." Those are the phrases of the spiritually weak. Say only, "I will act today. I will persist tomorrow. I will not stop until I succeed." There is no middle ground. There is no option to return. The door behind you is burned. This is why most men fail, not because they lack opportunity, but because they stop. They begin with enthusiasm and end with excuses. They speak once, but never speak again. They act twice, but never act daily. They depend on emotion, and when the emotion fades, they fall. But you, if you would persist, you will discover something sacred. That action taken daily becomes belief, and belief enforced daily becomes fact. And once your mind accepts success as inevitable, life cannot deny it. The world must bend to what is constant. Let me ask you now, have you truly persisted? Or have you flirted with greatness but failed to court it daily? Have you acted once or twice and expected reward? Or have you risen, repeated, and built with holy repetition? You want results? Then show the law your discipline. Show life your obedience. Speak your aim. Read your formula. Take your action. Every day, without fail. Do this, and the unseen will begin to take form. The impossible will become your biography. Say this again. I persist without apology. My results obey my repetition. Speak it. Write it. Sing it. Let it saturate your thinking. Let it become your identity, because the man who persists is the man who becomes the proof. And when you feel tired, persist. When no one claps, persist. When the world mocks, persist. When the results delay, persist. Not because you feel like it, but because you already decided who you are. You are a builder. You are a doer. You are a finisher. And the finisher becomes the leader. The world follows only those who do not stop. The voice of doubt does not speak loudest when you are alone. It speaks loudest when you are surrounded by those who have no faith, by those who make excuses, who entertain delay, who mock ambition, who speak failure casually and breathe hesitation as if it were virtue. The men around you are either your scaffolding or your sabotage. They are either building you or breaking you. There is no neutral influence. The subconscious mind records every word, every tone, every gesture, every sigh, and it builds belief or buries it based on who surrounds you. Let me be direct. If your company speaks like drifters, thinks like failures, and doubts like cowards, you will begin to speak, think, and doubt the same. No man climbs a mountain with companions who are afraid of heights, and no man becomes great surrounded by the small-minded. You must now understand the mastermind principle. It is not a friendship circle. It is not idle conversation. It is the sacred union of two or more minds, united in clarity, burning with belief, moving toward definite aims. The mastermind is multiplication. 1 + 1 = 3 when joined in purpose. Andrew Carnegie knew this. He surrounded himself with a cabinet of builders, not because they were geniuses, not because they were refined, but because they believed, because they spoke faith, because they decided quickly, acted boldly, and aligned with vision. If you wish to grow in certainty, you must walk with believers. You must choose your circle with spiritual precision. A single sarcastic voice can destroy a week of repetition. A single doubter can ruin a rising belief. You must be ruthless with your company. Now take this command. Exercise. Build your faith circle. Choose one person who speaks life, who believes in aim, in work, in spiritual law. Schedule a weekly meeting, 15 minutes minimum. At each meeting, both of you speak your chief aims aloud. Both of you affirm your faith aloud. No gossip, no complaints, no doubt, only direction, belief, and upward movement. You must speak your vision into ears that will amplify it. You must hear the fire in another's voice and allow it to relight your own. You must gather with men who are not casual about their destiny, who demand growth, who call for precision, who speak in the language of builders. Say this now. I walk with builders. I align with believers. Doubt has no seat at my table, again, as law, as command, again, until your mind begins to test every friendship, every conversation, every influence against this new standard. There is a cost to this standard. You will lose some company. Some voices will fade. Some invitations will stop. But what you gain is worth far more. Peace of mind, clarity of vision, magnetic energy, and the sacred support of the mastermind. You are not meant to build alone. You are not meant to hold your vision in silence. You are meant to declare, to share, to multiply it with those who believe as you do. Faith grows when it is spoken, shared, and reinforced. Let me tell you again, doubt dies in the company of builders. It cannot survive a room where every man speaks his vision with fire, where no one permits complaining, where only belief is permitted to speak. That environment is holy and it is yours to create. You are the gatekeeper. You decide who enters your circle. You decide who gets to influence your subconscious. You decide what conversations are allowed, what energy is permitted, what beliefs are welcome. Let your life be a sanctuary of belief. Let your table be reserved only for those who build. Let your speech be reinforced by the speech of kings, men who move with certainty and speak only in alignment with destiny. One more time, declare it. I walk with builders. I align with believers. Doubt has no seat at my table. This is not just affirmation. It is a filter for life. It will shape your conversations. It will cleanse your environment. It will raise your standard, and in time, it will raise your life. You've waited long enough for proof. You've looked for signs. You've asked for confirmation. But the law is this. You do not wait for proof. You become it. The world is not here to show you what's possible. The world is waiting for you to show it what belief can create. No one is coming to hand you evidence that your dream is real. No one is required to believe in you. Not your friends, not your parents, not your teacher. You must become the evidence yourself. You must walk with such certainty, such conviction, such daily discipline, that your very life silences every voice of doubt around you. You were not born to seek examples. You were born to become one. That is the law. And until you obey that law, you will always feel one step behind your destiny. Because the truth is, greatness cannot be borrowed, it cannot be inherited, it must be forged. Every man who ever made history began by doing the unglamorous, uncelebrated work of building belief under fire. While others rested, he wrote. While others gossiped, he planned. While others doubted, he declared. And long before the results appeared, he became the result. Let me tell you what average men never understand. Identity is not what you are. It is what you command yourself to be and what you enforce daily through decision and repetition. You must become so aligned in mind, speech, action, and purpose that there is no contradiction left in you. You say you want wealth, then speak like a wealthy man, walk like one, think like one, speak order, not chaos, speak vision, not confusion, speak faith, not apology. Because if your speech betrays your aim, your subconscious will choose your words, not your wish. You say you want respect. Then live with discipline, wake early, move with structure, refuse excuses, pay attention to detail, keep your promises, because no one respects the man whose words are strong, but whose actions are weak. Be the proof. You say you want love, then be love. Govern your emotions, cultivate patience, kill sarcasm, radiate clarity, speak truth. Let your presence bring peace, not anxiety. Let your silence be comforting. Let your actions speak honor. You do not find love. You become the kind of man love follows. Now, here is your command, your final ritual. You are not to perform this once, but every day for 90 days without fail. Exercise, mirror declaration, 90 days. Each morning, rise early. Stand before a mirror. Look yourself in the eyes, not briefly, but with full attention, and declare with slow, burning force, I am the evidence. I am the result. I am the proof that faith wins. I command myself to rise. I command myself to persist. I command myself to act, speak, and think as one who cannot be defeated. Say it until your posture changes, until your voice no longer trembles, until you feel the law bending to your words. You may feel foolish at first, you may feel fake, but let me tell you the truth. Every man who ever became great had to declare greatness before anyone else saw it. That's what makes him great, not applause, but obedience to vision. Now take this further. Before the end of this day, write a letter. 1 page, no more, dated exactly 1 year from today, from your future self, addressed to your present self. And in this letter, describe what you have built, what you have become, what you have conquered. Describe it in detail, with spiritual precision. Do not write it casually. Write it as law. Write it with the faith of one who knows it is already done. Seal it, and read it aloud every night for the next 90 days. This is not wishful thinking. This is mental law. What you repeat with feeling becomes identity. What becomes identity becomes behavior. And what becomes behavior shapes destiny. The man who controls his inner world becomes unrecognizable to those who still serve fear. Listen to me closely now. There is no greatness without internal obedience. You must become so clear in your aim, so decisive in your action, so repetitive in your faith that the universe cannot ignore your command. And that is what it becomes, a command. The man who becomes proof no longer explains himself. He no longer apologizes. He no longer negotiates with mediocrity. He walks, he builds, he believes. And by doing so, he becomes the mirror through which others see what is possible. That man is feared. That man is followed. That man is rare. And now that man must be you. You've listened long enough. You've studied long enough. You've prepared long enough. There is no more insight you need. There is no secret you lack. There is only the decision. Will I now live this teaching so fully that my life becomes the proof? You must burn every bridge to doubt. You must close every door to fear. You must silence every voice that still says, "What if I can't?" and replace it with one eternal truth. I can, I must, I will, because I have decided, because I believe, because I persist, because I am no longer waiting for proof. I am the proof. Now rise. Begin your 90-day declaration. Begin your one-page prophecy. Begin your daily action. Speak as law. Walk as certainty. Move as fire. The world is watching. Let it witness what happens when a man no longer doubts. Let it witness what happens when a man becomes the evidence. Let it witness what happens when anything becomes possible, because you made it so. This is the final word. You are not meant to survive. You are not meant to wait. You are not meant to wish. You are meant to command. You are meant to build. You are meant to become. Now go. Speak your law. Burn your doubt. Become the proof.